Welcome to my channel, AtienOgolla the lawyer, Karibuni Sana, and today we are going to be speaking about the electoral system in Kenya and the various challenges that our electoral system has faced. Joining us today is our expert in elections and governance, our counsel, Steve Ogolla, and if you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe. Today we are going to be having Steve Ogolla, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. He is also a litigation lawyer and an expert in elections and governance. Welcome, counsel.
Thank you so much, Etienne.
Yeah, thank you for allowing yourself to be here today. I know out of your busy schedule, I know you're a man of a lot of things in this city. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Etienne. You're doing an excellent job.
Yeah, so thank you too. So today we are going to be talking about the electoral system in Kenya and various changes that maybe we would like to see in the election system. So, but before even we delve into that, maybe could you just explain to us the nexus between democracy and elections, because I believe it's through elections that you're supposed to exercise this democracy.
Thank you so much. As they say, elections are at the center of democracy.
Yes.
Because democracy is the manner in which we constitute our government.
Yeah.
So if you look at the Kenyan Constitution, Article 1 declares Kenya as a republic, a sovereign republic. And one of the critical ingredients of a republic is that it's representative in nature.
Yes.
So to be able to get those representatives, you need to go to the ballot.
Yeah.
Now you're already isolating the critical ingredients of a democracy,
Yeah.
which means government by the people, of the people, by the people.
Yeah.
Elections, on the other hand, is the pathway to getting those leaders.
Yeah.
Because how do you get people to represent you unless you give them the mandate at the ballot?
Yeah.
So it's very important to get the nexus between elections and democracy.
Okay. And maybe you could also explain to us now the kind of electoral system we have. Of course, we know it's the winner takes it all type of model, but what more to it? What are the certain features of our electoral system?
I think I'm going to make a comment on Kenya's electoral system, but maybe what can benefit all of us is that there are largely three different types of electoral systems.
Yes.
We have the majoritarian system, we have the proportional system, we have the mixed member proportional system. But again, maybe if you permit me, even before we start analyzing or maybe reflecting on Kenya's electoral system, maybe some of us need to understand the distinction between the electoral system and the electoral process.
Yeah.
The electoral system is the manner in which government is constituted.
Yes.
The approach to constitute your government and to give it authority. The electoral process, on the other hand, is now the procedure, for conducting elections, But so electoral process is concerned with procedural safeguards and the manner of declaring someone as elected. But the electoral system is about the composition. How do you get the government as composed? How do you want to structure government? The system that you're using, what it intends to produce. So that distinction, sometimes we lose it. If you look at Kenya's electoral system, from post-independence to multi-party democracy era, up to the pre-2010 constitutional dispensation, you would describe Kenya as an absolutely majoritarian system, what people call first past the post, or winner take all system.
Yeah.
Which means, if you look at how the constitution of Kenya, the independence constitution now repealed, the independence constitution of 1969, as amended, it provided that the president just needed a simple majority, to be elected as president, of course, with a threshold of 25% of all the votes cast in at least half of the districts, as they were then. And then at the level of representative democracy, you have MPs elected in a single member constituency, and if you have about 19 candidates contesting in an election, the one that has the highest number of votes cast, valid votes cast, is the one that is declared the winner.
Yes.
That approach has both benefits and challenges.
Yeah.
Of course, the majoritarian or winner-take-all approach, one of the most critical ingredients of it is that it confers popular mandate at the ballot, and you need that in a presidential system such as Kenya's, because Kenya has had a presidential system since independence. We still do. That the concept of majoritarian or popular mandate is very much appreciated in a first past, the post or winner-take-all system. It also gives at the parliamentary level, it gives the representative, or again the popular mandate. You have emerged the winner. Problem is in the context of in our political and social context. Political context, I mean, in this historically, men have had better chances, at economic opportunities. They have had for a long time even better access to education and economic resources, and therefore they were better financially equipped, and therefore on that account alone, they were almost assured of getting ahead than let's say other candidates, let's say the women candidates. Also, we live in a patriarchal society, and the consequence of patriarchy is that ordinarily women are relegated to the periphery. They are thought to occupy reproductive spaces, while men are thought to occupy the productive spaces. So men are known to produce, and women were considered to reproduce. And in that context, the idea that it should allow women to access public offices and political and decision-making processes was one that culturally was not really well appreciated. So it meant that, again, marginalized groups and women fall in that category. Marginalized groups such as women, youth, persons with disabilities, and marginalized communities. These people didn't have access to resources. They were battling social prejudices. And then the electoral system, which is largely majoritarian, inadvertently excluded these kind of groups in the bid to give them a popular mandate. You want to give your leaders a popular mandate, because mandate is under the ballot. But then also, as you do so, you could end up with a parliament that is overly male-dominated, or a parliament that is dominated by people who are moneyed, because of the way the system is. I think because of those challenges, if you trace the journey or the conversation towards electoral reform in this country, which forms a subset of the broader theme of constitutional reforms, the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, in their final report issued in 2005, I remember the Ashgai Commission, they were very emphatic in saying that we need to reform our electoral system, and we need to make it more representative and more inclusive. And the committee of experts that was now updating the various drafts of the Constitution, the last one being the revised harmonized draft, when they're looking at the Constitution, they said, I think it's desirable to continue with the recommendation by the CKRC that we need to have a more representative parliament. We need to reform the electoral system. So if you look at the Constitution of Kenya 2010, there are some significant developments in the law which can signal a shift in the electoral system. These are the significant developments or changes, or what it may consider as a paradigm shift. Article 138 of the Constitution, if you look at the procedure for election of the president, the procedure for election of the president now requires that the president should have at least 50% plus one votes, plus one of the total valid votes cast, and at least 25% of all the votes cast in at least half of the counties. I think the distinction that we should not miss is that there is now a requirement in the Constitution of an absolute majority. Because in the repealed Constitution, it was a simple majority of just the highest number of votes cast. Just a simple tally. But now we need 50% plus one, which means whoever is running for president must cross the threshold of an absolute majority. That's why the Constitution says if you don't achieve that, then you may need to go to a second round, which the Constitution terms under Article 140 as a fresh election. You know, of 140 is on nullification, Article 138 on fresh election between the runners up, the first and the second candidate. And now then you have a simple majority. But that is a very deliberate constitutional design to try and make the person who emerges the winner in a presidential contest have as near broad support as possible. You know, then you'll have at least half of the country registered voters giving you that mandate. So there's an aspect of inclusion right there. At the parliamentary level and also at the county assemblies level, the Constitution has also ordained a paradigm shift. Although the paradigm shift is not in the context of a bicameral parliament, that's an important tool for dispersal of power and broadening representation and protection of minority interest, especially the Senate. But at the level of electoral reform, the Constitution still recognizes that we need to elect our members through a single member constituency directly at the ballot. That is a majoritarian aspect, where it's still largely winner takes it all, because people contesting in that election, the first person with the highest tally of valid votes cast is declared the winner. But the Constitution is deliberate in mitigating the problem of winner takes all by introducing 47 special seats, single gender seats for women. You know, when the Constitution says, let us have 47 special interest seats dedicated only to women, it's a recognition of the historical, social, and legal challenges we've had in the past that have worked against women accessing public elective offices. So you have 47 constituencies that are single gender constituencies and only women can compete. Then you have 12 nominated members of the National Assembly. The distinction, the innovation in the Constitution now is the manner of nomination of these 12 special representation seats is that they must be in the alternate, opposite gender. You know, in the old Constitution, it really didn't matter whether the 12 nominated MPs were all men. But now, there's a binding constitutional obligation to ensure that half of the 12 are women. And also the totality of these special seats, the 47 plus the 12, that gives you 59. So these 59 seats in Parliament are supposed to introduce some aspect of proportional representation, inclusiveness, you know, in terms of what you may consider as identity politics. So that if the winner takes all or majoritarian system produces 290, in the 290 constituencies produces all men, then at least you have some 59, right? You have some 59 that ideally should be all women. Then there's another innovation. So those innovations are found in Article 96, found in Article 97 of the Constitution, insofar as the composition of the National Assembly is concerned. Then there's another innovation in Article 81B of the Constitution. The Constitution is very deliberate in prescribing that the composition of Parliament shall comply with the two-third gender principle. Meaning, at any given point, at least we must ensure that a third of Parliament are of opposite gender. You know, when the Constitution says that, the Constitution is a reflection of the reality that sometimes the electoral system can produce an overly male-dominated Parliament. So there's a separate, and it's in our guiding principles, the principles undergirding Kenya's electoral system, that 1/3 must be of the opposite gender. So that is how the composition of the National Assembly is. Then you come to the Senate under Article 98. The Senate also has, of course, the 47 senators, but then it has additional 20 special interest seats, divided in the following manner. 16 are dedicated to women, nominated through the party lists, compiled in advance and given to ABC. Then you have 4 seats dedicated to workers and the youth and persons with disabilities. in the alternate or opposite gender. So if you look at the design in the Constitution, it's intended to produce at least 16 women in the special seats and at least 2 women, because the other 4 seats, special interest seats, 2 of them must be women. With the women with special needs, doesn't matter, but they must be women. So the Constitution has ordained at a minimum threshold of 18 women already. The Senate must have at least 18 women out of the total 69 senators, because you have 47 plus 20. That is 69. So at least when you go to the election, the 47 are elected in single gender constituencies, of course being the counties. We understand the problem of a majoritarian system. It can produce 47 men and then exclude the marginalized groups. So there's an inbuilt design there to make it as inclusive as possible. Now, the 2/3 gender threshold also applies to the Senate. If you look at the composition, before I got the comment on the 2017 election, I want to pose a question. You know, if you compare the innovations in the Constitution of Kenya 2010, insofar as composition of the National Assembly and the Senate is concerned, can you really say with certainty and evidence that that system is strictly or absolutely majoritarian? I think the answer is no.
It's mixed.
There's some signal towards a shift from the strict or absolute majoritarian system by requiring some aspect of proportionality in there. So there's a minimum threshold. The reason why we have 16 women to be nominated in the Senate, 16, is to introduce some aspect of proportionality. The reason why we have 47 constituencies, being the counties, electing representatives in a single gender constituency to the National Assembly is because the Constitution is trying to introduce some aspect of proportionality there. The reason why we are saying that the other 4 nominated seats in the Senate should be of opposite gender and the other 12 in the National Assembly also be of opposite gender is because the Constitution is signaling an aspect of proportionality there. And then the totality of the National Assembly is that not more than 2/3 gender principle be respected. I think it is possible to say, whereas the electoral system is largely majoritarian, we have an inbuilt mechanism in the Constitution, or rather the Constitution has already ordained a framework for a shift from majoritarian to a model of what may be considered as a mixed member proportional representation. So I would not characterize Kenya's electoral system post-2010 as strictly majoritarian. I would characterize it as a majoritarian system with a flavor of a mixed member proportional representation. I'm calling it a flavor because it has not produced the perfect representation, proportional representation, because the Constitution has deferred some of that responsibility to legislation. If legislation is in place, then we can say that the totality of the electoral system is truly proportional representation. If you compare this with the system in South Africa, Section 46 of the South African Constitution is very deliberate that the National Assembly shall comprise of members between 350 and 400 members or representatives, but in either way, it should result in proportional representation. So that's very deliberate, it's very expressed in the South African Constitution. In our Constitution, it's not expressed, but the totality of it points to the same outcome. You know, I think maybe then a distinction what I've not touched on is the county assemblies. For the county assemblies, a new creation, you can see the Constitution says you have the wards that are gazetted by IBC, and we have about 1,600 wards. The totality of those wards, the totality of the counties, the 47 county assemblies, that they must adhere to the 2/3 gender principle, taking into account representation of marginalized groups like persons with disabilities and the youth, and marginalized communities, insofar as it's possible in every county, in some county like cosmopolitan counties. So the same ideology of inclusion can be seen in the county assemblies, and therefore the electoral system applying to the representative houses, the county assemblies and parliament, is more of a mixed model.
Yeah, mixed, yeah.
At the top, it is still majoritarian, but majoritarian for the reason that, you know, Kenya is a presidential representative democracy.
Yeah.
If you have a presidential democracy, it means that the president is conferred a popular mandate at the ballot. There cannot be any way of conferring a popular mandate other than by someone with the highest tally of votes emerging as a winner.
Yeah.
And you can only have one president at the time. You can't have a co-president. Although now we have the inclusion of the deputy president, I think so. You know, in South Africa, they don't elect the president at the ballot. The National Assembly selects the president. You know, but I think that is my view about Kenya's electoral system.
Wow,
it's a bit reformed.
Yeah, that's a lot of information, and I'm glad you're able to tackle all the way from the National Assembly to the Senate. But even as we talk about the reforms, you've seen the BBI report, and one of the major, you know, points is about electoral reforms in terms of now changing entirely the majoritarian system to the mixed member proportional system. And then another issue now is about the inclusion of a prime minister. And then also now the reforms to take place in the IBC. Maybe if you could start commenting by now, putting the Kenyan system to be like that of South Africa. Could it now ensure that we have, you know, fair elections or credible elections in Kenya?
Well, I think insofar as the BBI is concerned, first of all, you must appreciate that BBI is a political conversation. And a political conversation cannot be unconstitutional. It is the proposal coming out of that conversation that may be deemed to be constitutionally offensive or fundamentally wrong.
Okay.
But before those proposals are crystallized and shared with Kenyans, I don't think we can say with a degree of certainty that BBI intends to alter the constitution in a manner that offends the constitution or in a manner that advances the constitution. We have to await and see the proposal that they come. But looking at the conversation as it develops, because the constitution is a political document, it's a power map. Politicians must be intimately concerned with how to reorganize that power. Of course, with the validation or approval of the people. And the challenge in Kenya is that because of undying or near fanatical support that our political leaders have, you know, sometimes when they make adjustments to the constitution, they're not necessarily adjustments intended to deepen the constitution's core commitments. They could be adjustments intended to advance political interest of select leaders. So that is where the challenge really lies. But I think BBI has understood, because I've read the report, BBI has not made significant proposals. The initial report that was released, it has not made significant proposals that intends to reform the electoral system.
Okay.
The central theme or the gravamen of the report is about expanding the executive to create the position of the prime minister, as you've said. I have my doubts whether the creation of the office of the prime minister will deepen our philosophy of accountability, transparency, good governance, as we know it. I think politicians are trying to mitigate what they are calling the winner take all by creating more positions.
Okay.
You know, there's a problem with that, with the framing of the conversation.
Okay.
How to address the problem of winner take all in an electoral system is not to create more positions at the executive, is to reform the electoral system.
Yes.
You know, how the politicians frame the conversation on winner take all is what they mean is this. You have 5 people, strong candidates vying for the presidency, representing each of the big ethnic groups. So the Luos have Raila Odinga, the Kikuyus have Uhuru Kenyatta, the Kalejins have William Ruto, of course Uhuru Kenyatta is the successor, the Kambas have Kalonzo Musyoka, and so on and so forth. And then now you feel disenfranchised, you know, quote unquote. Disenfranchised, you know, in the legal sense means your ability to determine who your leader is taken away. But I mean disenfranchised in the liberal aspect, where in the political sense that if the Luos got the ballot and they consider Raila Odinga their presidential candidate, and Raila doesn't emerge as a president, then they feel that they're excluded from government.
Yes.
and the Luyas got the ballot, and they feel Mudavadi is not emerging as the winner, then they feel they are excluded from government. So then the politicians are agonizing over this dilemma of inclusion, quote unquote, and they say, no, if we expand the executive, we can have an arrangement where all these communities, the big communities, because you have more than 42 ethnic tribes, so it's not possible really to have all of them in government. But when they talk about inclusion, they mean inclusion of the big five: the Kikuyus, the Kalenjins, the Luyas, the Luos, and the Kambas. It's not about inclusion of the big five. I mean, nobody cares about the Sudanese in Migori or politicians. That's what I mean. So they're saying we're going to come up with a political arrangement that accommodates the big five. So we can give a presidential candidate, let's say to the Luo, and give the position of prime minister, let's say the Luya, and give the position of a deputy prime minister, let's say the Kikuyu, and so on and so forth, so that when they present these candidates to you at the ballot, you feel included. Because the way we feel included is seeing our person. When I say our person, I mean the ethnic or the ethnic or regional kingpin. That is what we mean by our person. I think the problem I see with that is this. That is confusing and conflating the approach ordained by the Constitution. The Constitution, in terms of electoral reform, with the idea of inclusion, means how do you make sure that marginalized groups are in parliament? So can we reform the electoral system and make sure that we achieve 50-50 gender parity? Why 1/3? Because 1/3 is the threshold. But the Constitution is a trigger. It has triggered a journey or a race, starting from this threshold of 1/3, 2/3. But nothing stops us from having a 50-50 gender parity. It has given us some critical minimum safeguards relating to marginalized groups such as persons with disabilities, marginalized communities, and the youth. But nothing stops us as Kenyans from having a parliament that is truly representative. So that is the conversation we should be having, but BBI is not driving us that way. BBI is concerned about reward of individual political leaders. And that's they are rewriting the Constitution the wrong way. So the inclusion BBI speaks about is not the inclusion the Constitution anticipated that we should develop and deepen. So we need to understand and make peace with that, whether we get there or not. The other thing that BBI is now missing at the level of the presidency, the Constitution does not anticipate that the way to bring inclusion at the presidency is to open up the executive and create the position of prime minister, deputy prime ministers, chief ministers, and so on and so forth. What the Constitution means is this: at the level of the national government, can you create an executive that is representative? Well, you have the president who must come from one community, if I put it that way. If the president is Kikuyu, as he is, can you have a cabinet that is more representative? Give you a national outlook. Maybe just have, because we have up to 22 cabinet secretaries, can you have all of them representing 22 ethnic groups? Then you can say there's some aspect of inclusion there. Then you come to the public service. Can we do an audit and make sure that as many Kenyans as are qualified from the different ethnic backgrounds or communities are represented in the public service? So that the public service is not dominated by one ethnic community or 5 ethnic communities. And so on and so forth, the judiciary and other arms of government. It is not about expansion of the executive to accommodate political leadership. I think that is again the wrong framing of the constitutional intention, and BBI gets it wrong at that level. So that is my anxiety when I think about the political conversation. So in short, BBI is not reforming the electoral system.
It is doing what?
BBI is expanding the executive to include political leaders that represent different ethnic groups. Is that consistent with the Constitution? No. What is consistent with the Constitution is that the entire political infrastructure, the political wing of government, the presidency, the executive meaning the presidency, the deputy presidency, and the cabinet should be as inclusive as possible. Those are 23 positions, including the Attorney General 24. These 24 positions in the national executive should represent at least 24 ethnic communities.
Yeah,
I mean, we can achieve that without amending the constitution.
Yeah.
The National Assembly and the Senate and the county assemblies should, as much as possible, be as inclusive and as representative of the Kenyan political and ethnic reality as it can be.
Yeah.
We can achieve that without necessarily amending the constitution. But again, our politicians, they care about what is politically convenient.
Yeah,
Sadly, they always get it because the voter. The voter is susceptible to political manipulation.
They are not empowered, let me say. But
the voter is empowered by the law and the constitution, but the voter has refused to exercise the power that he's clothed with.
Okay,
I would not want to blame the politician.
Okay.
I'll blame the voter for making yourself susceptible to abuse.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I understand that, but also one thing you have not talked about is whether now going the South African way will help Kenya in terms of now maybe ensuring inclusivity, because that's one major thing that BBI is proposing, that we do the mixed member proportional representation.
Okay, I think maybe a bit of detail on the conversation about, at least now we know majoritarian, it's first past the post with this benefits and problems or challenges. You have a proportional system that allocates seats, so you don't even need to elect. Like for instance, South Africa, they have a bicameral parliament.
Okay.
The National Council of Provinces is not elected. Only the National Assembly is elected.
Okay.
The National Council of Provinces, the upper house, what you may consider as the Senate in Kenya, that is not elected. They say the National Council of Provinces comprises of 90 representatives. 10 representatives coming from the provinces. South Africa has 9 provinces.
Okay.
So whether small or big, you send 10 delegates. The regional premiers, and then 4 delegates that accompany the regional premiers, and then 6 to be elected by the regional provinces. I mean the regional assemblies from the provincial legislatures.
Okay.
So you have 10 people or seconded by the regions or the provinces to the National Council of Provinces. So they don't elect the Senate.
Okay.
That is truly proportional.
Okay.
Then at the National Assembly, they have what they call a system they call L-group system, where the Independent Electoral Commission, IEC of South Africa, assesses, because when you go to the ballot in South Africa, how they do it in South Africa is that you don't vote for the candidates.
Okay.
You don't see AtienOgolla on the ballot.
Oh, okay.
You see the party, and the symbol and sometimes the image of the party leader.
Okay.
Then you cast a vote for the party.
Okay.
And then the number of votes accumulated by the party is then shared, distributed into seats. The people that occupy these seats, of course, the list is prepared in advance and it's advertised, so you can know. If ANC, for instance, wins the majority of the votes, what they'll be allocated, the number of seats they'll be allocated in the National Assembly is a reflection of their performance at the ballot as a party.
Yeah.
But then you know who will sit there because the list is advertised in advance.
Okay.
So South Africa has a sophisticated system of proportional representation. What the BBI has recommended or intends to recommend, and I would support, a variation of the mixed member proportional representation, which means you balance between majoritarian and proportional representation.
Yeah, to have a blend of the two.
To have a blend of the two. We must have a blend of the two. We would never go entirely proportional because ours is a presidential system.
Yeah.
Unlike South Africa that can go highly proportional, they elect the president in parliament. Here we elect the president at the ballot.
Yeah.
Because we elect the president at the ballot, the constitution already requires the popular mandate.
Yeah.
The popular mandate is emphatically majoritarian.
Yeah.
It's the winner take all. But you take all with a supermajority.
Yeah.
So we can't lose that unless we are shifting from the presidential system. So I think I like the idea of incorporating the majoritarian system while mitigating the challenges that come with it through a mixed model of mixed member proportional representation, which means if BBI were concerned about advancing a reformed conversation around rehabilitating or improving the electoral system, we'll be talking about how do we make sure that the electoral system is as reflective of our ethnic and regional identities as possible.
Yeah.
Then the mixed member proportional system is the way to go.